Assalamu alaikum, dear students and viewers. Today we'll talk about Aristotle's concept of mimesis or imitation. Plato was the first one to use this word imitation to characterize art. The credit goes to Plato about the definition of art. That means Plato is the first one who successfully defined what an art is. For Plato, an art is a form of imitation. That means he wants to say that every art is essentially mimetic. Every art is a form of imitation. But for Plato, imitation means a servile copying of reality, a servile copying of nature. He uses the example of Socrates' metaphor of three beds to enunciate his idea. Plato says that art is twice removed from truth. আর্ট হচ্ছে সত্য থেকে দ্বিগুণ দূরবর্তী এবং এইটা বোঝানোর জন্য প্ল্যাটো হ্যাজ ইউজড সক্রেটিসেস মেটাফোর্স অফ থ্রি বেড ওয়ান বেড এক্সিস্ট অ্যাজ অ্যান আইডিয়া ক্রিয়েটেড বাই গড একটা বেড হচ্ছে আইডিয়া গডের সৃষ্টি আইডিয়া দেন অ্যানাদার বেড ইজ মেড বাই দ্য কার্পেন্টার ইন ইমিটেশন অফ গড গডের ওই যে আইডিয়াটা ওই আইডিয়াটাকে ইমিটেট করে অনুকরণ করে আরেকটা বেড তৈরি করা হয় কার্পেন্টারদের দ্বারা কার্পেন্টার তৈরি করে সেটা অ্যানাদার বেড ইজ ক্রিয়েটেড বাই দ্য আর্টিস্ট ইন ইমিটেশন অফ দ্য কার্পেন্টার তার মানে কার্পেন্টার যে বেডটা তৈরি করলো সেইটাকে নিয়ে শিল্পী হয়তো একটা ছবি আঁকে বা কবিতা রচনা করে ধরা যাক ছবি আঁকে তার মানে দাঁড়ালো যে আর্ট যেটা আর্ট ইজ ইমিটেশন অফ ইমিটেশন তার মানে হচ্ছে আর্ট হচ্ছে অনুকরণের অনুকরণ তার মানে এটা সত্য থেকে দ্বিগুণ দূরবর্তী প্ল্যাটো defines art in this manner. For him, art is twice removed from truth and reality. But Aristotle did not define art in this manner. Aristotle has extended the meaning of imitation and he has infused a new breath into the meaning of imitation. For him, imitation is something which perfects the imperfections of reality. Imitation removes the imperfections of reality and it creates a new reality in its own light. That means for Aristotle, imitation means a creative reproduction of reality. While Plato, by imitation, means a servile copying of the phenomenal world, Aristotle means a reproduction of reality by the word imitation. We can take two examples to understand what Aristotle means by imitation. In fact, Aristotle, nowhere in his book Poetics, clearly defined what imitation is, but we can find out what Aristotle means by imitation. Aristotle says that history deals with what has already happened, but poetry deals with what should happen. That means a poetry does not always deal with the reality, but poetry deals with an imagined reality. What reality should be is the matter for poetry. From this example of Aristotle, we can feel that, we can understand that what Plato means by imitation is totally different from what Aristotle means by imitation. For Aristotle, imitation means a type of recreation of the reality. We can enunciate this point by another example, with another example. Plato compares poetry with painting. We all know painting is almost a photographic representation of reality. But Aristotle compares poetry with music. Music is something which is internal, which manifests our internal joys and feelings, and art imitates and presents and represents our feelings, happiness, our sadness, and so on. From this perspective too, we can say that for Aristotle, imitation refers to both external and internal world. And also imitation refers to what is not existent, but what should exist. We can clearly understand this term if we look at how Aristotle has described the function of tragedy. For Aristotle, the function of tragedy is to arouse pity and fear in the mind of the audience or viewers. The artist's task is to create this feeling in the best possible manner. That means Aristotle agrees to give some more responsibilities to the artist so that he can create a desired impact on the audience. That means in Aristotle's concept of imitation, there is a scope of imagination. There is a scope of recreation of the reality. For example, as we have already said that the task of tragedy is to arouse pity and fear. Aristotle claims that pity will be produced by undeserved misfortune of the protagonist, and fear will be produced by the fact that we all are like the suffering protagonist on the stage. So, by using the traditional materials available, the artist make these feelings with his artistry, with his imaginative acumen. And another example we can take up, in fact, another utterance of Aristotle we can take up. Aristotle says that probable impossibility is preferred to improbable possibilities in the plot of a tragedy. তার মানে তিনি বলতে যাচ্ছেন এখানে যে ঘটনাটা আপাত দৃষ্টিতে অসম্ভব বলে মনে হয়, একজন আর্টিস্টের কাজ হচ্ছে সেই আপাত অসম্ভব ঘটনাকে এমনভাবে উপস্থাপন করা যাতে এইটা দর্শকের মনে প্রবাবল, দর্শকের মনে হয় যে এটা সম্ভাব্য, এটা হতে পারে, এটা হওয়া সম্ভব। এবং এই যে আপাত দৃষ্টিতে যেটাকে অসম্ভব মনে হয় সেটাকে সম্ভব বলে উপস্থাপন করা অনেক বেশি কাঙ্ক্ষিত সেই জিনিসের চেয়ে যেটা আপাত দৃষ্টিতে সম্ভব কিন্তু এমনভাবে উপস্থাপন করা হয়েছে যেন এটা অসম্ভব। তার মানে Aristotle emphasizes more on the artist capacity to convince the audience. তার মানে হচ্ছে যে Aristotle আর্টিস্টকে একটা দায়িত্ব দেন, সে দায়িত্বটা হচ্ছে এমনভাবে বাস্তবতা তৈরি করা যাতে সেই বাস্তবতার ব্যাপারে যারা অডিয়েন্স বা ভিউয়ার আছে তারা কনভিন্সড হয়। তার মানে যেহেতু অ্যারিস্টটল ডিফাইন করলেন যে আর্ট হোক, ট্র্যাজেডি হোক, পোয়েট্রি হোক, সবই এ ফর্ম অফ ইমিটেশন। আরেকটা কথা উই শুড কিপ ইন মাইন্ড দ্যাট ট্র্যাজেডি, কমেডি অ্যান্ড অল আদার ফর্মস অফ ইমিটেশন সেটা হচ্ছে ওয়ার expressed in a single term, poetry. Everything was poetry, which is imitative in nature. Another interesting point Aristotle makes that imitation is embedded in our very nature. We learn by imitation and we also enjoy works of imitation. For example, a child learns how to walk by watching other working human individuals. In the same manner, we also enjoy works of imitation. If any ugly piece, if any dead body, Aristotle claims, is painted, we get a sort of pleasure. Why the ugly thing gives us pleasure? Because we can identify that this is the thing which has been painted. That means this sense and this knowledge of understanding the likeness give us pleasure. So Aristotle claims that imitative work or a work of imitation always gives us pleasure. In this manner, Aristotle has built up his definition of imitation, which is different from his teacher Plato. So now we can wrap up. So we can wrap up in this manner that to Aristotle, imitation or mimesis is actually an imaginative recreation or a creative reproduction of reality. Plato means by imitation a servile copying of nature or reality. On the contrary, by imitation, Aristotle means something creative, something upon which the artist works upon to create the maximum effect in the mind of the audience or viewers. এইভাবে আমরা পোয়েটিক্সের ভেতরে ছড়িয়ে থাকা বিভিন্ন বাক্য এবং বিভিন্ন অ্যারিস্টটলের যে উপলব্ধি সেটা থেকে আমরা ইমিটেশন শব্দটার যে ডেফিনেশন সেটা তৈরি করলাম। কারণ হচ্ছে Aristotle did not clearly define the term imitation, but we can understand that Aristotle's concept of imitation is to a large extent different from his teacher Plato. Hope you have all understood Aristotle's concept of imitation. I just want to remind you again that first point is that imitation is embedded in very human nature. Second point is that Aristotle defines imitation quite differently from his teacher Plato. And third thing is that artist has a responsibility to convince the audience with his imaginative power and artistic capacity. Another point I should tell you that one art is different from another form of art in three ways, Aristotle claims. What are the three ways? Aristotle names it as such: object of imitation, manner of imitation, and medium of imitation. For example, poetry is different from painting. Why poetry is different from painting? Because the medium of poetry is word, and the medium of painting is form and color. So, the different medium have made painting and poetry different forms of art. In another manner, we can also say that epic and tragedy, both are imitations, but they are different art forms. Why they are different art form? Because of manner of imitation. Because of manner of imitation, tragedy and epic are different. What is it? Because epic uses narration to tell its story. On the other hand, tragedy uses dramatic action. So this manner of telling the story, the manner of unveiling or exposing the plot is different. In this manner, epic and tragedy becomes different. On the other hand, comedy and tragedy is different, though they are forms of imitation. The object of tragedy, we know that the people worse than the average one, and the medium of imitation of tragedy is the object of imitation of tragedy is people greater than the average one. So comedy and tragedy are different because of their object of imitation. যেসব জিনিসকে তারা অনুকরণ করছে, উপস্থাপন করছে, সেসব জিনিসের ভিন্নতার কারণে ট্র্যাজেডি এবং কমেডি আলাদা হয়ে গেল। কমেডি উপস্থাপন করে হচ্ছে সাধারণ মানুষের চেয়ে একটু নিচুতর মানুষকে, আর ট্র্যাজেডি উপস্থাপন করে সাধারণ মানুষের চেয়ে উচ্চতর মানুষকে। তাহলে এই যে অবজেক্ট অফ ইমিটেশন, এই কারণে tragedy and comedy becomes different. So, Aristotle has put forward another insight that one art form is different from another art form in three ways. So it's in a very scientific manner, in a very systematic way, Aristotle has defined his imitation and showed the difference of one art form from another art form. So hope you have understood it well. So thanks for watching. Thank you again.